Hello class, I look forward to showing you my garden from this year. And so let's start off. This is my head trained vineyard. I grew these from cuttings. We grow the Tempranillo grape and they are really overcropped this year. We didn't have a freeze until June and that was only partially affecting some. So they had tons of clusters. I'm gonna have to do a lot of pruning. We also have Cabernet grapes, which are an awesome wine grape. And you can see the leaf is very distinct. They have smaller clusters, but gophers are killing me. This one I had to dig for. We did have a freeze. It was very late, June 23rd, and you see some of the damage here, but it only affected some of the vines. So this is espalier apples. This is what they look like after 2 years, after 3 years, and then in the 4th year, they started to become productive. You can see how I'm growing those out, and some of these apples are the first ones. I grow strawberries under the canopy. Here are my ever-bearing strawberry plants just getting started. I have a huge bud 10 rootstock orchard. I have no idea what I'm gonna do, but they decided to make fruit. I was intending to graft them over and cut them off. I didn't have the heart to do that. So I did some example grafting and I'm still waiting to see that success. So I love to grow pots and flower beds. We put plants wherever we can. This is a Ficus benjamina I've had since I was in college. At the base of it, I tested some sun patience. I call it a tortured aspen because it doesn't grow here, but you know what? With some good color at the base, it looks a lot better. You might recognize these flowers as some of the giveaways I had earlier this semester. So I call this area outside the fence. These plants have to be tough because they're not protected. We had to plant watermelon in 2 rounds and a lot of pumpkins, but only a few survived, and I'm gonna have to have a party because I'm growing tons of sweet corn. Often plants come up and we just leave them. I like some climbing roses to beautify entryways. These are a nice red climbing rose. What we decided to do is surround our garden with a living fence and trap the chickens and such inside. So we used blackberries. I have both a thorny type and an ever-bearing thornless. You can see a little sun damage on some of those here in July, but we get a lot of blackberries. The raspberries are growing a little slow this year. The grasshoppers have been on those. And also on the back line, I'm getting elderberries for the first time. These are only 2 years old. My pomegranates are still a work in progress. I have a unique one that I found a cutting for and grew some seeds for. I'm testing it out. It's partially dead, and so I needed to come in with some table grapes to fill that fence line, and this Glenora is doing really well. My animals are a lot better protected because I have my Labrador out by them. And so we have rabbit tractors. Kids love raising rabbits, and we just move these tractors around and they eat the pasture grass. We have quite a few males and females, and my daughter breeds them. They eat from this alfalfa patch that we cut and make hay to store through the winter. We have perennial grasses, mixed clovers, and then I water with this rotating sprinkler. It's very water efficient. It's like a rotating stream spray. In the pasture, I have a bunch of trees, and I call them my pest control. They make lots of eggs. Here's a rooster doing what roosters do, lots of beautiful hens, and plum tree inside this pasture area. These hens lay a lot of eggs, and this year we decided to let the rooster fertilize. We got a mama hen. She's got 22 eggs underneath of her, and so she'll be a mama soon. Lots of fruit. Peaches this year because there wasn't a late freeze and this tree wasn't affected by the June 23rd freeze. We had a total of 5 cherries on our sour cherry, a plum that hasn't produced, an Arkansas black that's yet to produce, a Rome Beauty that has 1 apple on it, so I'll get the taste test. And this is just a look of what the pasture looks like with these little trees in it. So you go into, from the pasture, you go into an interior garden that's completely surrounded by apple trees. These were apple seedlings that my daughter started, and there is literally 100 apples going around this garden area. They are entering their 5th year, so they're starting to produce, and the trees are getting dense. I don't know if we're going to top them or hedge them or what, but we'll see what these apples taste like this year. This is outside the pasture looking back in, and you can see that density. Interior, we grow some wimpy stuff like chili peppers. We had horse manure that was too raw this year, so my garden's off to a really slow start. We'd like to grow flowers, cosmos, zinnias. The watermelon seems to not mind. We grow the contender bush bean because we can save the seeds. The potatoes are really weedy because we're going to go in there, dig them all out, and then turn this into some other multi-crop. We got white sweet potatoes coming along, and of course charred kale and sweet peppers. We grow our tomatoes on poles, and what garden would be complete without sunflowers? And the goats eat the seeds, which ones the birds don't get. We grow melons, zucchini, and this was a rough year for us. We did great with our onions and garlic, but the garden interior needs some help. I grow native seed fields, so this is an interesting project. I have some agaves. This one's called Tumiana, and this is agave perii. Those are both native. And then these yarrow, the seeds will be collected and then delivered to the Tonto National Forest for reseeding. So this is a contract that I'm working on. This is squirreltail, just coming into seed. And then this is blue grama, an awesome native grass. I'm growing this using drip tape, and I planted all these plants by transplants. There's more than 7,500 transplants in these areas. It is a kid farm too, so of course we have dairy goats. The girls will show these in the fair. They want to get in the wheelbarrow and do what goats do. I have a landscape area that I just like to use and grow many different unique things. I had a student compete with me about who could grow the best blue spruce seedling, and I think I'm the only one still competing on that. I located a fig growing in the wilderness and took cuttings. I got it big enough to put outside, but it died back to the ground, so I put a backup plant in a pot. This is a valley oak. This is a especially unique agave perii, smoke bush from a cutting, monarda from a cutting. I don't buy any plants if I don't have to. I found this cool Delosperma. I collected gamble oak seedlings. A Mexican buckeye seed came from Tucson area. An Arizona redbud, I might have got it from the Grand Canyon. The penstemon, a society garlic. Lots of cool stuff. Even this Deodora cedar my son dug up from our own old house and brought it. Lots of cool stuff. I love bonsai trees. I'll probably bring them into class.